Assalamu alaikum, dear believers, Muslims, Facebook guests. We'd like to welcome you to our Jumah service. We would like to start off with the salutation with the name of God, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. All praise is due to God, the Lord of all the worlds. We bear witness that there's nothing worthy of worship but God by himself. And we bear witness that Muhammad, to whom the Quran was revealed, is his last and universal messenger. And I will say that in Arabic. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Again, I greet you in greetings of peace in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. It is a great day to be here on this Jumah day, which is also our Eid, the celebration of Eid al-Adha. And our subject is going to be very brief, and hopefully that it would resonate with the people of faith. Our subject is the power of faith. And I would like to use some Arabic terms for faith in Arabic. There's one term called tawakkul. It is an Arabic word which is a noun and a verb. And then there's another word called tawakkul. They sound just alike, but they have slightly different meanings. The word tawakkul, it means to trust in God as the creator, but it also is withdrawing the efforts of the individual, where that we looking for a miracle. It creates an element of laziness. It creates an element of lack of effort. It creates an element of careless attitude, putting everything on God while we do nothing about it. You have people of faith, of all faiths, among the Muslims, the Christians, and others, who put everything on God and do nothing about it. That's called tawakkul. But tawakkul means to completely depend on God, but it's not depending on God where you do nothing about it. It's depending on God where you exalt every effort, you strive with everything that you got. You use your intellect, your will, your muscles, your mind, your spirit. It comes from an Arabic root word which means wakala, which means to entrust or to give charge and authority to. People of faith, we say we trust God, but we give our authority to others. We give our allegiance to others. We give our allegiance to men. We give our allegiance to power. We give our allegiance to those who are not the originator of our souls. And as a result, we become dependent on what the process is. If you look at people of faith in the indigenous community, or the African American urban communities that are really good people, we looking for a miracle to happen. You have Muslims who think that if you say certain Arabic terms or make certain prayers or make certain dhikrs, that things going to change. And I'm not meaning to be offensive to anybody that might be hearing me, but Allah said, never do I change a condition of a people unless they change it themselves. So Allah tells us this in the Holy Quran, that the change is from within. He's not going to make the change if we don't do anything about it. Our circumstances will never change until we change it ourselves. So we have to develop tawakkul. We have to have faith that we don't become disappointed. It's a faith that produces strength. It's a faith that produces energy. It's a faith that produces forbearance. It's a faith that produces determination. It's a faith that produces contentment. It's a faith that we become happy and accept Allah's will and His decree, whatever the outcome is. It's a faith that we never become disappointed. It's a faith that don't make us become stressed because we're struggling. It's a faith that will renew our energy. It's a faith that will make us accountable and take charge of our lives. It's a faith that will lead our life to obedience and devotion to God. When we use the term salat, it's translated often as prayer. But the word salat actually means devotion, worship. And those that are positive speakers and people that motivate people, they say that the way that you get good at something is through consistency. So people say, oh, the Muslims pray too much. They pray 5 times a day. No, we give in devotion to God 5 times a day. So the more we do it, the greater we become at it, the better we become at it. To give devotion to God will eliminate the fear that we have in our minds. We won't be needing drugs and alcohol to medicate us because of the circumstances that we live in. You know, we live in a Christian society where many of us is waiting for Christ to come back. But if you want to see Christ, see yourself. You say, well, what is this brother talking about? How am I going to see myself in Christ? Well, let's look at what they said they done to Christ, and let's compare it to what they have done to a whole people. They gave Christ a thorn of crowns, and they crushed them thorns in his head, and out came bleeding his blood. Here it is, we have people that come into great wealth, great fame, great power. They have the throne put on their head, but that throne is crushed into their head to where they lose their common senses. They lose their humanity. They lose their morals. And they crush that thorn into their head until out come pouring their common sense. They no longer have any rationale with all of the accomplishments that they have received, with all of the wealth that they have accomplished, with all of the power that they have. Their life is reduced to that of a dog, a low-life creature. They nailed his hands to the cross. Look at the state of Black America. We can't do for self. We have all of these resources. We have all of these opportunities, but we can't do for self. According to Forbes magazine, you have over 2 million millionaires that's African Americans. That represents $2 trillion. So with $2 trillion just among the millionaires, not talking about the billionaires, not talking about the middle class, but just the millionaires themselves, we have over $2 trillion in economic power. How come our communities look like war zones? How come we looking for, as they say, Uncle Sam to take care of us when we have the ability to take care of ourselves? Because our hands been nailed to the cross. We don't believe in doing for self. We believe in letting others do for us. And as a result, we become a people that don't produce anything that we can call our own. Look of all of the athletes and entertainers and professional people in the sports world and in the music world. We don't even control our own talent. Somebody else is controlling our talent. They being paid off of our talent. We're the only people that give over our human resources to everybody else. We complain about DEI. We need to be working on economic empowerment. So they nail our feet to the cross. Everywhere we go, we got a stereotype of being a lazy, no count. I can't say the word, so I'm going to say Negro. You know, as famous, as wealthy as Oprah Winfrey is, she was in, I think it was somewhere in Europe and Sweden, and she was in a high-end store. In this high-end store, she was looking at a purse that cost like $25,000 or something of that nature. And the lady didn't know who she was, so she approached Oprah Winfrey like, why you picking up this purse? You can't. And Oprah had enough money to buy everything in there twice. But because our feet been nailed to the cross, even though she's successful individually, she still carry the same stigma of all other African Americans because of what have been labeled upon us. Praise be to God. We can do this. We can change our condition. But the only way that we can change our condition is that we have to have faith in God. Faith in God is not saying that I believe in God. Faith in God is not just making my prayers or making dhikr or calling on the Lord or going to my religious services. Faith in God is action. The word tawakkul is a noun and a verb. It describes something, but it's something that you have to act upon. So if we don't act upon our faith, then do we have faith? And remember what God says. Strive towards the hereafter, but don't neglect your share of this material world. He used the term dunya, which doesn't mean money. Dunya represents science. Dunya represents business. Dunya represents culture. Dunya represents higher learning, higher education. Dunya represents everything that has something to do with the evolution and the development of our human being, of our human soul. And when he says strive, that means with everything that you got, with your will, with your intellect, with your muscles, with your mind, whatever you got, use it for God. Praise be to God. May Allah accept our prayers. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praises is due to God, the Lord of all the worlds. I bear witness that there's nothing deserving to be worshipped but God and God by himself. in this time that we live in this modern society, faith and reasons are often juxtaposed as two competing ideals, with neither being able to exist along the side of the other. That is a false dichotomy. Faith and reason truly is reconcilable. According to the Quran, the sacred book of the Muslims, we believe in the authority of one God. The Quran repeatedly encourages us to think, to reflect, to use reason, to use understanding, and to follow universal truth. If we subscribe to what God is telling us, it would be something that will reflect in our lives. It will reflect in our environment. It will reflect in our community. Now, some of the Muslims that might hear this khutbah, they might think that it's not relevant. And they might say, well, why are you not addressing what the Prophet said? This is what the Prophet said. I don't have to say the Prophet said this. If you know what the Prophet said, and if you're a student of Islam, you'll know that I'm teaching what the Prophet said. I'm just not saying the Prophet said this and the Prophet said that. The Prophet was called the Quran in living form. So if I repeat what is in the Quran, it's a reflection of what was in the Prophet. You got to remember, they say that there's only 4 schools of thought. Who authorized that? Who determined that? How can somebody in the 7th century tell me how to think in the 21st century? If the Quran is a book that is for all times, that means that as time advances, the knowledge and the understanding will advance. We have Muslims that dressed as though they live in the desert. I'm not wearing no sandal and no robe in Chicago weather when it's 60 below zero. I ain't got no camel outside waiting for me either. That's not Islam. That's culture. We have to be able to understand that Islam is like a quilt. That in Islam in the quilt, you have all different colors and cultures in the quilt. And every color in that quilt represents its presence in that quilt. But what holds that quilt together is the Shahadatain, that I bear witness that there's no God but God. That's what holds that quilt together. So we have a right to have our culture in that quilt. We don't have to give up our culture. We don't have to take on somebody else's culture to accept Allah. I hope y'all understand. I pray to God that the leaders of Islam will listen to the direction that Imam Muhammad shared. Even though many downplay him, but hundreds of thousands came to Islam because of Allah inspired him to teach from the Quran and not to follow the behavior and the culture of other ethnic groups. So because he didn't follow the behavior and the culture of other ethnic groups, they tried to write him out of history. And now, to be a Muslim, you're not ashamed. But prior to, you was changing your name from Muhammad to Mo, while we was changing our name from Mo to Muhammad. You was practicing Islam in secrecy, while we was walking the street saying Allah is God and Muhammad is his messenger. So now that all of the hard work have been done, you want to come out as the modern day Tarzan. You want to come and save the black community. You want to be the authority for the Islam in America. Where was you at when Islam wasn't popular? You should be giving zakat to this community. You should be making interest-free loans to the African-American businesses who don't sell pork and liquor in their grocery stores. Some of you all condemn Minister Farrakhan and say that he practiced shirk. Well, one thing I do know about him, he don't sell pork, he don't sell liquor, he don't sell drugs, he don't sell cigarettes. You say you know Allah, but you involved in all of these haram activities, and we should follow you. Your masjid is built with haram money, and you come into the poor black communities and you push poison in the poor black communities. You push poison in the poor black communities, and we are supposed to look up to you? At Mayor Arafat, when we stoned the devil, some of you all should be stoned as being the devil for selling drugs and pork and exploiting the black people. And you talk about the Jews when you make the Jews look like Boy Scouts with your mistreatment of black people, and you call yourself Muslims. Astaghfirullah. I thank Allah that we don't fear the criticism or the criticizer. Say, oh, brother, you don't know Islam. That makes you even more guilty than if you know Islam and you practicing all of them haram activities. As people of faith, we have to stand up for what is right, even if it's against ourselves. The African American community, the leadership as a whole, have become nothing but poverty pimps. You have 1 million training programs, but there's no jobs and no opportunities that come out of them training programs. When a white cop killed one of us, we up and marching and protesting, and we saying Black Lives Matter, but we killing each other every day, and we silent about it. Ain't nobody said nothing about it. Ain't nobody walking the street protesting as though it's okay. So black lives only matter when white folks kill us? How hypocritical we gonna be as a people? How are we going to advance as a people? Allah said that he would check one people by another people. Some people complain about President Trump. Some even call him the Antichrist. No, Trump is good for the black man because he's not operating in secrecy. The vast majority of the African American people belong to the Democratic Party. How come we the only race of people that all of us belong to one party? All white folks don't belong to the Democratic Party. All Hispanics don't belong to the Democratic Party. All Asians don't belong to the Democratic Party. Why do 98% of us belong to the Democratic Party? Something wrong with that. That way the Democratic Party don't have to work for our vote. They just give us turkeys and hams. They say that's all they need, a bunch of turkeys and a bunch of hams. We ain't even get to work for their votes. They created in us the spirit to be weak. They created in us the spirit to be lazy. They created in us the spirit for entitlement. They created in us the spirit for handouts. Now, they do a lot of good things now, but they ain't no different than the Republican Party. If they was, then why we in so bad shape? This is a democratic city. How come we got so much poverty in this democratic city? We had democratic presidents. How come they can find money for other suffering people, but they can't find no money for the people who are descendants of the people that worked for this country for free and built this country? That's why they got so much wealth. They had free labor. They might say, oh, that was my ancestor. You're a beneficiary of your ancestors. So I thank God that Trump is in office, because the black elites now know what the poor elites feel like. They ain't getting their handouts no more. The doors is closing on them. There's enough economic wealth where we can fund our own schools. The money that we spend on jewelry, cars, parties, just a fraction of that money can do wonders for the African American communities. But we wear a crown of thorns. We big people. Some of them go as far as to say that they'll steal your soul. Some of them believe they bigger than God until they get brought to their knees. Don't underestimate the power of God. God can snatch your sight from you. God can snatch your speech from you. God can incapacitate you where you can't get out of the bed. And all of your wealth and all of your fame and all of your power would be a rope around your neck. You wouldn't even be able to buy a smile. So dear people of faith, don't look for a miracle. Move out on your faith. Get up and do something. God said that nothing be something, and worlds came into existence. If we believe in God, things seem like they're impossible. You know, the Bible saying that God breathed into the dust, and from that dust became a living soul. So God wants us to evolve from dust to being industrialists. He wants us to be a people that take charge of our lives. We good people and we give it all to the devil. We say, oh, money is bad. Oh, it's a bad thing to have money. It ain't no bad thing to have money. It's a bad thing if you do bad things with money. It's a bad thing to do bad things for money. But if you have money and you can do good with that money, ain't nothing bad about money. So let's not allow ourselves to be tricked. I'm going to close with this thought from the Quran. The Bible speaks of it a little differently, but I'm going to speak of it from the Quran. When God was making man, Adam. Now, those who are students of the Quran, it speaks of the creation of Adam, man, more than one time. It speaks of him being created from clay. It speaks of him being created from sounding clay. It speaks of him being created from stinky clay. And it speaks of him being created from dust. So in my mind, it's talking about the evolution of man's soul. But let's go back to the allegorical story in the Quran where God said that he's going to create a Khalifa. And at this time, the creation was in a state of paradise. So God made an announcement to his elite, his angels. And he said, I'm going to create a Khalifa, a leader, a vicegerent, someone that would take charge. And the angels responded and said, you're going to create one that would create mischief and blood? Now, this is an allegorical story, but it's letting us know that the angels was operating with a form of intellect also. The only difference between an angel is man, that angel can only do God's will. It can't act outside of God's will. So the Bible referred to Satan coming as a fallen angel. But in the Quran, the devil didn't come from being an angel. He came from what is called the rank of the jinns. Now, people speak of other creations and UFOs and all of that, and I believe there's other life other than what we know. But my focus is not on that because I have a big enough struggle with this little body of mine on planet Earth. So I ain't got time to worry about what's on Mars and Jupiter and all them other places. But I believe there's life other than what we know. You know, God saying, no just estimate do they make of me. You know, he's constantly creating universes. You know, he's constantly creating worlds. So then God said to the angels, bow down, make sajda, pay honor to this man that I'm creating. And they all submitted besides Iblis. Now Iblis, he was in the company of the elite. He was not an angel, he was a jinn who occupied the planet before man. This planet been here for a long time, and don't nobody know how long it been here. Some people might say, oh, you talking spooky. Well, in this room right now is molecules and polycules and neutrons and electrons and all kind of creation that exists right now that my naked eye can't see. But because science then got advanced, they now can say that those are realities. But prior to that, there wasn't no reality. We didn't know that this room is occupied with millions of molecules and polycules and neutrons and electrons, atoms. You know, man became so scientific that he was able to accumulate atoms and make a bomb called the atom bomb. That's so far above my pay grade, I wouldn't even know what to think on something like that. But it exists. So don't underestimate God. They say, and no just estimate do they make of me. So God told the angels to bow down, and all of them bowed down but this jinn called Iblis. And there's a conversation taking place now. And God said, what's wrong with you? But before that happened, when the angels questioned God, God told Adam, tell them their names. And when he told them their names, the angels said, you know what we know not, because only God can have given Adam the ability to tell them their names. So everything that exists, man gave it a name. Every fish got his own name. Every living creature, ant and a roach and a spider, was given a name by man through the inspiration of God. That man didn't have the ability to do that on his own. So God told them, tell them their names. And he told them their names, and they bowed down in submission and said, you know what we know now. But Iblis, he was arrogant. He said, oh, I ain't submitting to this creature that you made from stinky mud, this common man, this man that don't have what I have. You created me of fire, free from smoke. And God said, what's wrong with you? I'm paraphrasing. He said, this is my man. Now, this is how the Iblis, and this is how you become a devil, is when you define what God wants. You can start off good, but then once you define what God wants and go against what God wants, now you then crossed over. I come from a community when we used to say the white man is a devil. But now I know that devil is black and yellow and green. I know that devil is multi-purpose. The only difference is the white devil had more power. But don't think it ain't no black devils running around here. If there wasn't, then we wouldn't be in so bad shape. Don't think that the people that sold us in Africa wasn't all righteous people. That couldn't took place without some devil Africans that was selling their own people. How you going to come and take that many people from somebody in a foreign land? You had to have help from somebody. How you going to come over there and steal millions of people? You know, like you can, and they don't even know their way around. Is in this modern day time, Russia or America couldn't beat the Afghanistan because they didn't know the rocky terrain. And if they got on the ground with them, they wasn't no match. They couldn't even wipe out the Viet Congs because they didn't know the terrain. They dropped as many bombs on them as possible, but they couldn't get rid of them. The only way they was able to get rid of them is get on the terrain. Well, back then they ain't have no bombs to drop. So that means your bomb was somebody on the other side helping you out. So let's be clear that somebody black played a role in that situation called slavery. And we don't want to admit to it. I'm light-skinned because of that. So God talking to Iblis again. He said, what's wrong with you? So Iblis, he ain't crazy. He highly intelligent. At one time, he was so righteous that he was in the ranks of the angels. He was pious. So he asked for permission. He said, God, grant me respite to the day of judgment. And I prove that this man that you created to be the leader on this planet ain't worthy of that title. And God said, respite is granted. Now, this is going to cause some problems with some Muslims. The devil himself is the creation of God. Yeah. He said, oh, the God didn't create. Yeah, he did. He could have wiped them out right then and there. He could have said, you know, Allah said, kun fayakun, be and it is. It's over with. He gave him life. He extended him the opportunity to exist because it all was part of his plan. So the Satan said, I'm going to come at them from before them and from behind them, from their left and to their right, until none of them would be worthy of this great blessing that you have given them. I remember when I was a little boy, they had a show called Dick Van Dyke, and they slept in separate beds. Now, everything goes. You know, right now, to be moral is to be unacceptable. Right now, to be a moral human being is being an oddball, because the world has been made so perverted that if you morally upright, something wrong with you. So then we live in a world where the thorns have been crushed in our brains and outpouring our common senses, outpouring our humanity, outpouring our morality. And if you say something about people that live life that we would perceive to be unnatural to the creation that God made of man, then something wrong with you. So then God said, okay, I grant you that. I'm going to give you to the day of judgment. I'm going to allow you to work your plan. So as time goes on, man keep getting knocked down and another one keep getting raised up. Every time a baby is born, God is giving humanity another chance. So every time that there's a life being born, God is giving humanity another chance. And as we constantly get knocked down, one day we're going to be invested with God's light. We're going to be invested with God's light. And we're going to chase this devil with the light of God. We're going to burn this devil with the light of God until he vanishes and disappears like a thing that never existed, like a vampire die under the light of the sun. Don't underestimate the power of God. Don't underestimate the power of truth. We might not witness it, but it's going to happen. We might not live to see it, but it's going to happen. It happened before and it'll happen again. Akima Tissalat.